Hello students, welcome back. Today we will be learning another new unit, and this time we have two units that I've compiled together because it is interrelated to one another. This is from your social and political life portion. The unit is entitled Government and the Features of a Democratic Government. So now let us have a look at what we have in this chapter. The learning objectives of these two chapters are to find out why we need a government, to learn about the different types of government, to study the function, levels, and organs of the government, to understand what apartheid is, to understand how conflicts are resolved between people, to understand why people should participate in governance, and to develop an appreciation for equality and justice. A country is just like a big house or a big class. Just like we fight with our siblings at home and classmates in school, we end up squabbling with the members of the society. And in a society as diverse as ours, such confrontations happen more often than not. Confrontation meaning a fight or argument. Therefore, to monitor its people, every country has a guardian or teacher called the government. In the absence of this guardian or teacher, anarchy and confusion would prevail in the country. Anarchy means a situation when there is no organization and control. What is a government? Government is a group of people that come together to handle the daily affairs of the country. The group is sometimes elected by the citizens of the country and sometimes selected by the ruler, depending upon the form of government the particular country has. Every country needs a government to make rules, regulate the society, and formulate policies for the welfare and the well-being of the people. Need for government. Life of the early man as hunter-gatherers was simple and easy. However, as men started practicing agriculture and settlements and societies emerged, life became complicated. Interactions and dependency on one another often led to conflicts and disputes, meaning fight. The need was felt for an organized system of authority which would ensure security, resolve the disputes among people, and regulate the society. This was the origin of the government. Besides solving the dispute of the people, over time the scope of government expanded to include not just providing security to the people and formulating laws for the country, but also to take up welfare functions for the people in order for the citizens to live a comfortable life. Moving on to the types of government. In the beginning, monarchy. Monarchy means a country which is ruled by a king or queen. This type of government was the most prevalent form of government. Most countries had a monarch, who was the ruler of a country or region. The monarch, in consultation of a few of his or her selected members of the society, would make rules for the people by taking their advice, and the people had no say in the decision-making process and they had to follow the rules. Since monarchy is hereditary, hereditary meaning if the king is the monarch, then his child, the prince, will be the next king. The decision-making power stayed in one family for generations. This form of government is known as absolute monarchy, where the monarch exercises ultimate authority and no one else has the power to make the decision. Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy. Eventually, people became more aware of their rights and demanded participation in the day-to-day functioning of the government. As a result, Most monarchs are now advised by a government which is elected by the citizens of the country. The power of the monarch is not absolute and they are bound by the constitution of the country, meaning the rules set up for the country. This is known as constitutional monarchy. The United Kingdom is an example of constitutional monarchy. The other form of government is democracy, which is the most popular form of government in the world. In a democracy, the citizens elect their representatives who then form the government. These representatives work for the betterment of their people and are answerable to them. In a democracy, the government derives its power from the people. With a population of over 1 billion people, India is the largest democracy in the world. Another form of government, which is a complete opposite to democracy, is dictatorship. In a dictatorial government, a single person or a small group of people rule the country. The dictators are not elected and usually seize power over the whole country. They work for self-interest and are not at all concerned about the well-being of the people. Adolf Hitler was a very famous dictator of Germany during the year 1934 to 1945. Now moving on to the next subtopic, levels of government in India. India is a vast country. In order to administer the country efficiently, it has been divided into 29 states and 7 union territories. Each state is further divided into various small districts. As per the division, we have 3 levels of government in India. That is the local self-government at the bottom, then we have the state government, and the highest level of government is the central government. Local self-government. At the district level, people choose the local self-government which take care of the day-to-day needs of the people. Local self-government handles situation and matter that concerns the people of the district or village only. For example, the cleanliness of the district and the supply of water and electricity works, etc., are handled by the local governing bodies. Local governing bodies meaning in your own villages, you have the head GB, the Gauburas, you have the village chairman and the village councils. These are the local governing bodies. And in some local villages, we still have the Panchayati Raj system where the Panchayat is the head of the local self-government and they are responsible for the well-being of the people. India has 29 states and each state has its own government. Each state government is elected by the people of that particular state. It is responsible for the welfare of the people and make rules and regulation for the people of that particular state only. Decisions such as whether a multinational company should invest in the state or not, the items that should be brought from other states, building of roads and maintenance of bridges, etc. of the state are taken care by the state government. The chief minister is the main head of the state government, and for our state Nagaland, Nepirio is the chief minister and he is responsible for the well-being of our state. Next we have the central government. Central government or union government is the government at the highest level. It works for the welfare of the entire country. It takes strategic decisions regarding its security and defense, decide on the import and export policy of the country, and also work towards keeping healthy relations with other countries in addition to various other things. The leader or the main head of the central government is the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of our country is Sri Narendra Modi. Functions of the government. The government of a country or a state plays an important role in development of the area and the welfare of the people. Once the government is formed, it has to perform some basic functions. First function, defense and security. The main function of the government is to provide safety and security to the people. In addition, the government is responsible for the defense of the country and to protect the borders from external forces. Ensuring welfare measures. It is the function of the government to plan, organize, and execute welfare acts for its people. Improving transport facilities and building of roads, maintenance of bridges, and providing food, etc., are taken care by the government. Resource management and international relations. Management and allocation of natural and human-made resources are handled by the government in such a manner that the end consumers, which are the citizens, must reap maximum benefit for their hard work. The government makes and keeps good relations with other nations by extending help and support in their times of need. In addition to this, the government also takes care of various other small and big issues. Organs of government. It is not possible for a single unit or a single wing to look after a country as vast as India. Therefore, in order to function smoothly and effectively, the government has been divided into three wings. That is, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now let us look at the structure of the government one by one. Executive. What is the responsibility of the executive? The responsibility is to implement the laws made by the legislature, and the members consist of the president, the vice president, the cabinet ministers, and other ministers. Now, what is the duty of the legislature? It is to make laws, to seek accountability from executive. They are the main lawmaking bodies. The members consist of the president and the two houses, that is, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Now, what is the responsibility of the judiciary? The responsibility of the judiciary is to solve conflicts between executive and legislature. Now we understood that legislature are the law-making bodies and executive are the main responsibility is to see that the laws are being implemented by the people. And if any problem arises between the judiciary and the legislative and the executive, the judiciary will look into the problems. And it also handles other public related matters or conflict, meaning when we have any problem, we sue the people and we go to the court. So judiciary means the Supreme Court. What is our role as a citizen? It is not only important to abide by the laws of the country, but to also understand the reason behind the formation of the laws that the government makes for us. Since all of us are not educated in the field of law, it is the duty of the people we elect to explain the laws, their disadvantages or advantages to us. Since we have to rely on our elected representatives, it becomes important that we choose the right people during elections and not get blinded by their bribery. But of course, we have not always had the right to choose our government. For a very long period, we were under the British Raj, meaning the British rule, and we had to follow the rules and regulations set by the British in India. Initially, only the British had the right to make laws for India, but after struggling for many years, a select few were given the right to vote, but the common person had no such right. Therefore, when India gained freedom from the British in 1947, the leaders of independent India decided to have a democratic form of government where every person would have a say. Our country exercises universal adult franchise where every person of the age of 18 and above has the right to vote. This means that all the adults in the country have the right to vote in elections irrespective of their race, gender, religion, ethnicity, or socio-economic status. Democracy is the most popular form of government in the world today, in which people elect their representatives, who formulate laws on their behalf. Election and voting process are important elements of a democratic system. In a democratic system, all citizens exercise universal adult franchise. People of a democratic country are given the opportunity and equality to take part in the decision-making process, irrespective of whatever background they come from. While universal adult franchise is prevalent in all democracies of the modern world, this was not always so. In certain countries, women were denied the right to vote. In some others, the poor and landless were not allowed to vote. In yet others, the blacks were deprived of their voting rights. Thus, while adult franchise was there, it was not universal in nature. Thus, universal adult franchise is modern democracies is a result of a long struggle by the disadvantaged section of people. For example, women in the USA obtained the right to vote only in 1920 after a long suffragette movement. The blacks in South Africa secured voting rights in 1994 when the policy of apartheid or racial discrimination was finally abolished in the country under the guidance of the minister Nelson Mandela. In this context, it is important to remember that India granted the right to vote to all adults irrespective of gender, caste, region as soon as it became independent in 1947. Moving on to this next chapter entitled Features of a Democratic Government, which is in correlation to the previous chapter, that is government. Now let us have a look at the chapter. Have you heard about Nelson Mandela? Did you know that he spent 27 years in prison to fight apartheid, which means apartness in Afrikaans? He liberated his country, South Africa, from the tyranny of racial discrimination. But what is apartheid? Apartheid is a political system in which people of different races were separated in the past South Africa. The black population was under the rule of the white minority. The Europeans in power came up with the system of apartheid so that they could control the economic and social system of the country. The blacks could not vote, they could not travel in the same bus or trains, or could not eat in the same area where the white minority people, that means the Europeans, dined. They needed to carry identification papers and were often denied employment to certain offices. This practice, which started in the beginning of the 19th century, rose to its height between 1948 to 1994. Nelson Mandela and a wing of the African National Congress started a movement against apartheid in the early 1960s. In 1962, Mandela was arrested for being involved in this movement. Apartheid was practiced till the 1990s and was formally abolished when the country's first multiracial elections were held on 27 April 1994. Nelson Mandela was elected the first non-European president of South Africa on 10 May 1994. Thus, in 1994, South Africa became a democratic country where people of all races were considered equal. Democratic government. A democratic government is a government which is elected by the people of the country. It symbolizes the rule of the people as the government derives its authority and legitimacy from the people. There are many forms of democratic government. However, there are certain basic features that are common to all democratic governments. Firstly, we have participation. The policy of apartheid in South Africa prevented non-Europeans from participating in the day-to-day working of the country. This resulted in non-Europeans missing out on all the benefits. This proves that participation of the people is important in a representative government. Participation ensures that people are aware of the decisions and their rights. Participation happens in the following ways. Firstly, right to vote. Right to vote is of utmost importance in a democracy. All adults of a country should have the right to vote in elections and select their representatives. They also have the right to re-elect the same representative or elect another representative if they are not satisfied with the previous choice during the election. Next, we have the right to opinion. People also have the right to express their views freely if they are not comfortable with any decision taken by the government. People generally express their concern by going to the media, newspapers, television, the internet, which in turn voices the concerns of the public. They often take the matters into their own hands and organize protests, rallies, dharnas, and fasts to attract the attention of the government towards their problems. Every time there is a hike in the price of petrol, people voice their concern, and more often than not, the price is marginally reduced to please the people. Similarly, when rates of essential commodities are increased, people have voiced their concern and managed to bring down the prices, even though very marginally, meaning very less. Next, we have conflict and resolution. When you fight with someone in class or when you have differences in opinions and decision, what happens in such situations? Who comes to resolve or help? In such cases, the conflicting parties are so possessed with their ideas and they are so angry that the teacher has to intervene in the class and solve the problem. Similarly, when people get into a conflict, the government steps in to resolve matters and ensures peaceful coexistence of the two parties involved. What is conflict? The situation in which people are involved in serious disagreement is called conflict. Conflict is inevitable in a country as big and diverse as India. Conflict arises when people from different backgrounds do not agree on certain issues, or when people of one group feels discriminated and alienated by the other groups. There are many ways in which conflicts are expressed. Some conflicts are expressed peacefully, where people carry out peaceful marches, rallies, and protests in other non-violent ways. But some conflicts become so violent and result in loss of either their life or their property. Hence, it is important to resolve conflict. Conflict should be resolved through dialogue and negotiation in a way that all the angry parties are satisfied with their solution to the problem. The government also plays a very important role in conflict resolution. For example, in the Kaveri water dispute, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu fought for the right of their respective people to the water of the river which crossed both states. After almost 16 years of hearing in the court, the case was settled by the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal, which is a governing body. Equality and justice. While resolving conflict, the government needs to uphold the key ideas of justice and equality. The decision should not be biased and should be made on the basis that no one is more equal than the other. Justice and equality are inseparable ideas. Without justice to all, there can be no equality between them, and if there is no equality between them, justice is being denied to them. The abolition of untouchability, the biggest social evil, and women's suffrage are some of the measures taken by the government to bring justice set by the laws of the Constitution. In addition to this, the government also works towards protecting the rights of the girl child and address other such social issues which might create a problem in the society. With this, we come to an end for both the chapters. I hope that you've learned something new. Thank you for watching and stay safe.